Hey folks, this is Shane. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. Recently I had the opportunity to sit down with Tom, November 3 Whiskey Sierra. Tom is the Aries coordinator for his county. He's very active in his local ham radio club, and he has the fantastic YouTube channel, TangoOscarMike. During this discussion, we went over in detail how his Aries club works out with his county, and our thoughts on is the service of ham radio still relevant in this day and age. This video is part one of a two-part series, and I hope you enjoy it. So if you don't mind, I'll start recording now because with my luck, we start going, we have an awesome conversation, and it's like, oh crap, what was that you said
Yeah,
again? So,
no problem.
so like I said, the whole idea is for me to have a one-on-one conversation with people in the hobby and in the service, so to speak, because like I said, this is a hobby or a service. A lot of people will argue. I don't see the argument. It's clearly a hobby, but it's also a service. And to what level, that's where the discussion seems to be. I don't think we can argue that back in the day when radio technology just first started, the amateurs were neck and neck with commercial and military. We were all learning together, but now in modern times with satellite communications and every squad car has a repeater in it, basically the argument is amateur radio still a valid service? And uh you came to mind right away for this series because I know you're very active in your radio club and you're very active in Aries as well. And I know that you do a lot of training, a lot of simulations drills, a lot of stuff, a lot of preps in your backyard, which a lot of places I don't see in my area.
Yeah.
So I want to take
Okay.
your take on where you see it and your experiences. Have you been involved with Aries in uh, real emergency situations, or what? So
Okay.
I've been rambling
Well,
enough. Take it away.
yeah, I am very active in my club. I'm on the board of directors of my club. I'm the Aries emergency coordinator for my county. I think I took over that position probably 4 or 5 years ago. Um, it was already established. There was already a relationship with the county. The gentleman that had it before me, he's a silent key now, Bob KB3IN. He was a great guy. He was kind of my mentor in the beginning. He was the areas coordinator, but he was a paramedic in the county. And after he was done being a paramedic, he worked in the 911 call center. So everybody
Sure.
in the county knew him. So when I started, a lot of the relationships with the county were already established. So I
Okay.
didn't have to do that. I know some people are trying to get in with their counties and it's really hard. I didn't have to do that. There's actually another gentleman in our club who's our kind of our tech guy, and he actually is responsible for a lot of the county's communication systems, like the radio towers, the repeaters,
Hmm.
911 system, and all that. So we have a really good in with the county, and our Department of Public Safety really does support us. That being said, we've never been called for an
Okay.
emergency. And I think it's highly unlikely that we will, to be
Hmm.
honest. Um, they do support us. We get to use county equipment and county resources for. We do the spring SET drill, which is the simulated emergency test. We do the fall one, and now we're kind of incorporating other exercises into what we would consider a county communications exercise. And
Okay.
the reason we do that, there are still things that require that the county still gets those requirements, I guess, from FEMA. And I've had to fill out forms saying, we are the Aries group in the area. These are our contacts in case something ever would happen. I'm not saying that something can't happen or may happen. I
Hmm.
just think it's very unlikely that, and if it does happen, we're not ham radio guys aren't going to be the guys that come in and save the day. They're going
Right.
to be the guys that come in and just supplement all those great services that the county has.
Hmm.
We can provide some background communication while they're doing the critical communication. We can talk to the Red Cross shelters. We drill with the Red Cross shelters. So we could be, help them a little bit.
Hmm.
But uh, ham radio, I don't think isn't going to rush in and save the day.
Right.
I think
Right.
even if you look in areas that are hit by tornadoes and stuff like that, and everything's wiped out, they have phone service back within a short amount of time
Hmm.
because the after some of the big events in this country like 9/11, the phone companies were required to maintain a fleet of portable towers and stuff to get communications back up and running.
Hmm.
So, but I think people confuse or they associate service with Aries. And for those not listening, Aries is the amateur radio emergency service, which the ARL has organized. Um, and I think because there's not that need like there was before, I think we need to look at that term of service. Our club is what the ARRL calls a special service club. And to be a special service club, you have to do a couple of things. You have to provide training, which my club does. We do license training a couple times a year, and then we do training during the SET drills and stuff like that. You have to do public activities where, most of our events are in public. We put up signs and everything.
Hmm.
So, but I think service can be more than just Aries. To me, service, and I brought this up on my last club's net because this has been on my mind, that service is just helping your fellow ham radio operator or helping your community. We've had a big ice storm and I go out and try to clear the road or um, go over and help my neighbors. I have a couple of neighbors that need help in the wintertime. I think that's a service of my club, And
Hmm.
even if Aries wasn't around, I think we would still be doing a lot of the stuff we were doing.
Right on. Yeah, that's a lot of my mindset as well. I think you hit it right on the head where it's not a replacement or an alternative, but as a supplement to the emergency comms that are already in place with dispatch and everything. Where, like you said, we could be communicating with Cross. One item that popped in my head would be like if there's flooding, you may be asked that a certain ham check on a bridge or a culvert over a small creek 3 times a day and report the water level so that a deputy or a firefighter doesn't have to be doing that and they could be focusing on more important things or their more primary tasks, I should say, is
Yeah,
is where I see it too. Yeah,
yeah,
because a lot of people do have that. I don't know if it's like the white knight syndrome where they think that uh all of a sudden dispatch is going to go down and fire departments and ambulances won't have a radio and they'll come in and save the day with their amateur radio where 50, 70 years ago that may be the case, but now with the redundancy and like I said in the beginning, almost every squad car has a repeater in it basically,
yeah,
the redundancy. uh we've Emergency services has learned over time. Now, the gentleman before you in your club started the Aries and built the connections with emergency services. I take it since he was intertwined, he was in that. Um,
yeah,
so that's a big key because I think that's a thing that a lot of clubs have is they don't have an in, so to speak, or a vehicle to get in with the local county or the municipalities. Um, Speaking from one club I know from a county down, and I'm sure you're aware of it too, is it can be very political, not, you
yeah,
know, Republican or Democrat, but just you the club I know before, they had a good relationship with the current or the past emergency coordinator for the county and the sheriff, and they met regularly. But then people retire, people move positions, and that one contact is gone. And then somebody
Yeah.
else comes in, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't know what that is. I don't care. I have more important things to do. And that vehicle kind of gets lost. So I think a big thing for clubs, areas that they're trying to get established, is to work with building contacts and multiple contacts, and not just call them up and say, hey, I'm Shane from the local Aries Club. If there's ever emergency, here's my number. I mean, you gotta be more in,
Yeah.
and it seems you're fortunate to have that. Now, when you do your spring and fall simulated emergency training, do you do that in coordination with your county sheriff's department or anything?
With us, it's the Department of Public Safety, and
Mm-hmm.
with our club, it happened in reverse. The last person that was the head of Department of Public Safety, we were involved, but we were just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are in charge of public safety now are much more supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we do the SET drills and stuff, we do it with the county, not necessarily county employees, but we basically, I submit if anybody knows the incident command system and the ICS forms, I submit an ICS 213RR, which is a request for resources. And we have a number of resources that we have access to. One is the EOC. There's a ham radio gear at the EOC. There's a backup EOC. There's a couple of county remote command and communications vehicles. Basically, they're portable 911 centers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's ham radio stations in each one of those vehicles. We're not permitted to drive them because we're not county employees. So they usually will bring them, drop them off, or we'll go to a county location and they'll set it out in the parking lot. And we do everything but drive it. We set it up, we power it up, we hook up the generators, we put up antennas. We even monitor the FEMA radios because the county will actually call us on the FEMA radios that are in the truck. Um, so we do it with them. They know our capability. And sometimes every couple of years, there's a nuclear power plant that's not that far from me. And every couple of years, they have to do a big nuclear drill, like
Mm-hmm.
a fallout drill. And I think it was last year I was involved with that. I got called down to the EOC, and there was everybody. I mean, the EOC was completely packed. We were limited to take two people in because there was county people. The FEMA was there. PEMA was there, Pennsylvania Emergency Management. There were hospital staffing crews, Red
Mm-hmm.
Cross. You name anybody that's involved in a wide scale disaster like that, were in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next night, they had another drill at one of the Red Cross shelters, which is a high school. And I was kind of shocked of all the stuff they had there. I mean, not just besides the beds and the cots, they have the decontamination booths. They have little booths you walk into, and if you're contaminated with radioactive material, it'll beep, and you either you get a pass and you go right into the shelter, or you get diverted into a decontamination shower.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty high tech stuff, and we were out in the parking lot passing traffic, and we would run in, and we happened to have a huge storm come in, and they were literally warning of extremely high winds, possible tornadoes and stuff, and we were going in and relaying that information to the Red Cross and the other
Mm-hmm.
officials that were there. um, so it's nice to be that involved with intertwined with the county. But like I said, I'm very fortunate that that was already established by one of the people that was already there. And like I said, we still have somebody who's kind of on the inside. He
Mm-hmm.
works for the county, maintaining all the emergency radios. He outfitted most of the trucks where our gear is, and he's a ham. He runs our repeater system in the area as well. And the guy is just a wealth of knowledge. Uh, and we have a five repeater, linked repeater system. They're on county 911 towers with microwave backup to the other towers, interconnectivity and everything.
Wow.
Um, so we're just lucky in that aspect of being able to do that. And hopefully, if the time ever comes, uh, we can help out in some way. Like I said, even if it's just taking some of the load off emergency services, just to handle normal traffic or pass weather information like via Skywarn or whatever.
Hmm.
Just let them know, hey, this is going on, that's going on, that kind of stuff. But it's been a good relationship.
Hmm.
So that part, for my county, I really can't complain.
Yeah, I think that there's, in my opinion, and granted, it's just worth what it is, opinion. I'm pretty new at this, but there's two key things to focus on, and they both circle around networking and recruitment. The one that we've already touched on is having a good network with the emergency services, the professionals, whether it's in the sheriff's department or the fire departments or everything, county or municipality, preferably both. Uh, then the second will be getting recruitment into areas itself from your club. I know a big stepping stone to get past is the initial training to get, the FEMA training and everything that's required for areas. I know there's a lot of people, we've had discussions before on gear versus skills and tactics where you can get a lot of hams that will be all excited about getting matching hats and safety vests and figure out which channels to designate as their frequencies. But then you ask them, how are you coming along on the training? Oh yeah, I haven't got that done yet, but I'm going to get to that sooner or later. How do you get people motivated to take the required training? Um,
Yeah,
uh,
that is a tough one.
mhm,
I've done a lot of the training. I've done all the ICS training. I've done the ARRL Oxcom trainings.
mhm,
Um, I know quite a few people in our club have taken a training, but I know a lot of them haven't.
mhm,
As far as getting people involved, I found the more activities that the club does that are fun and enjoyable and people want to come out for, it's easier to build those relationships with the people in the club. And when you do activities, like we have a charity event coming up that we'll do race communications for. We'll have a net control station in one of the county command vehicles alongside somebody doing fire communications because that's also supported by the fire departments. And we have a ton of volunteers for this event this year,
mhm,
which is great. But I think it's because we've been doing other events that get people active in the club. We did Winter Field Day this year, which is the first year my club's done Winter Field Day. And normally I love going out and setting up a tent and doing Winter Field Day by
mhm,
myself and doing what I want to do. But this year I thought, you know what, I'm active in the club and I know there's other people in the club that would like to do Winter Field Day. And we actually made it a big event this year. We had a great time. And our normal field day is coming up. We're already in the planning process for that as well.
mhm,
But it's our my club president, Joe N3XE. He is a great educational person. He has done. We're doing an antenna build coming up. He was the first person to help me build an NFED antenna, and now I build stacks of them. I have NFED antennas everywhere. Um, but every time we do something with the club and people come out to do it, it seems like the next event you do, more people come.
mhm.
People are like, man, I built an antenna for like a fraction of the cost it costs to buy one.
Yep.
Or, hey, we did Winter Field Day. When are we going to all do a POTA together or something like that?
Yeah,
But
it could build on the weekly nets when instead of just calling in and say that you mowed the lawn, when you call in and say, "Boy, I had a blast last weekend with Tom and the other guys where we built the antenna or we worked this event," and that gets the people more interested into it. I think too. It just kind of spreads on its own where they go, "Wow, that does sound like fun. Maybe I'll check it out next time."
Yeah,
And
our weekly Tuesday, we have a net Tuesdays, uh, and we used to get 10, 12 people on the net, sometimes a little more. And a couple of years ago, I started every net. Before the net, I do my research. I find out all the activities that are going on that weekend, whether it's QSO parties, contests, or whatever. I try to let people know of any upcoming Ham Fest or other news,
mhm,
any projects that we're doing, classes, that kind of stuff. Just anything interesting that might be of service, to the
mhm.
club. And now we're getting close to 30 people on our check-ins
Oh, that's cool.
every net, and we're getting people from other areas checking into
Mhm.
our net.